Okay, testing. I just realized, yeah, when you said no sound, I realized the most important thing that I forgot. Namely, I forgot to pair this microphone to the little USB antenna here. Okay, good. All right. Okay. Do we have sound now? Okay, sound. Okay, good. Okay, then. All right. Hi there. Welcome to my kitchen this Sunday evening, where we are getting ready to use one of my biggest cast iron pots, and I'm always happy about that. Funny thing is about this one, I mean, you may notice the little discoloring up around the edge, up around the top, and that in fact is fire damage that I need to take care of still. I've been using this pot for several years, and it seems like the fire damage seems to have begun to show. So I've got to do a major restoration on this, which I will do after tonight, because tonight is time for some gumbo. Yes, indeed. A New York Yankee. Yeah, I used to be a New England Yankee, but now I'm a New York Yankee, which is making gumbo tonight. And well, fortunately, I have made gumbo before, so at least I feel fairly confident that it is going to be decent. All right, keep using until the cows come home. Pretty much, yes. And of course, when it comes to gumbo, there are two rules, as you know, that we've got that have to be sure not to break. And number one is don't burn the roux. Number two is don't get the okra slimy. And we're going to be taking care of number two first. So that means I'm going to be sauteing some okra before we brown the sausages and then finally get down to the roux. I would have liked to have sauteed the okra in butter, but since I'm going to be making a roux using olive oil, I really don't. It's not a good idea to mix your oils. You could end up just that, separating it and ruining the roux. So, and I've done that before, which means I'm going to have to stick with this olive oil here. Don't need too much. That should probably be enough. And we will return to that in a little bit. Right now, spread this around. And anyway, it's not going to take very long to do this either. Hopefully, I hope I can do this fast because I've already done all of my chopping, thank goodness, except for some green onions, which will come at the end. But nonetheless, here's the okra, washed and chopped. And since I don't want to burn it, got to start stirring right away. One thing I've learned as well is that doing a couple of extra steps before preparing the roux will put a little bit more flavor into the roux. So that's another reason why I'm doing the okra first. That plus it'll be able to cool off. Hmm. Oh yeah. Excuse me. Yes, indeed. I'm really happy to be able to make some gumbo for my house guests. I think I mentioned that for about the past week or so, I have had house guests, and that's one of the reasons why I've been so busy lately. But that's not the only reason. The other stuff is stuff that I don't talk about on YouTube. Suffice to say, though, it means that I am cooking for several people tonight, including teenagers. However, fortunately, these teenagers have been brought up right in that they love seafood. And yet, despite the fact that they eat a lot of seafood, it appears they have not regularly had gumbo. So, that is something we are going to remedy tonight. Has a lot of stuff that they like, though. Sausage. It's going to be a seafood gumbo with shrimp and crab meat. I'm also going to throw in some tuna too because, well, I have it. And hey, a little more, the more meat, the better. Anyway, all I really have to do is just stir fry this okra until it is no longer slimy. Oh, the way my house smells after making gumbo. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. I've got all my prep work, got lots of seasoning, of course. I even have the filet powder as well as the okra that we're preparing right now. So even though this is happening way north of the Mason-Dixon line and way north of Louisiana, this should hopefully be something of an authentic gumbo. Done, as I stated, in one of my biggest cast iron pots. This one is the BSNR number 12 Century. And the reason why I continue to use this is because I have a genuine Red Mountain BSNR lid, and I am still looking and maybe looking for a long time yet for an authentic Red Mountain number 12 Dutch oven, which I realize I could very well be looking for the rest of my life. But that's how the treasure hunt goes. And until then, I intend to get as much use as I can out of this number 12 Century Series Dutch oven. I originally got this, actually, I originally got two of these, and both of them were fire damaged. The other one was so severely fire damaged that I could not season it, so I had to get rid of that one. This one I was able to season. Right now, though, as I mentioned, the fire damage has begun to show. So, once again, after tonight, I think I'm going to have to look into doing some real restoration on this, at least for the time being. Fire damage is permanent, despite the fact that that is one of those eternal internet arguments among the cast iron community. Um, However, if I give this an electrolysis treatment, I should at least be able to make the outside look decent. Did I hear Miss Mobley? Thought I did, but I don't see her. Anyway, this is the first step. I'm debating throwing a little bit of seasoning onto this okra anyway. So, some good old seasoned salt shouldn't hurt. All right, my weather bad. Well, sorry to hear that, Cynthia. It the weather hasn't been that bad. It was supposed to have been raining all weekend, but while we have seen a little bit of rain, it's been a lot less than they had initially predicted. So I'm not complaining, especially since we've had more than enough rain over this spring here in this area. We've finally beginning into some summer-like weather, thank goodness, and it's about time too, considering that summer is now a week away. So yeah, I'm really glad about that. Some people I have been told that I have this bad habit of constantly stirring around my food when I fry it, in that I don't let it rest. Well, as far as this is concerned, my understanding is this is the correct way to stir fry okra because you don't want it to burn. And I think we are starting to get to the point where it is no longer slimy, which means step one of this gumbo is almost finished. All right. So far, so good. Although, as far as an authentic gumbo is concerned, I think there are either Cajuns or Creoles who will never consider this to be an authentic gumbo, not just because it comes from New York, but also because I cannot use pork in it. That means no andouille sausage. I've mentioned before that my new family, some of them do not eat pork, which means when cooking for them, I cannot use pork in these dishes. So I've had to just use some basic substitutes. In that, we're just going to have some chicken and beef smoked sausage. On the other hand, since we are going to be putting a lot of seafood into it, I don't think anybody is going to complain. All right. I'd say this is probably looking close to done because I don't see any slime. Anybody listening to me talking about slime in my okra, slime in my okra is probably going, ew, I'm not eating that. Not to worry. As I found out myself, okra actually tastes pretty darn good when prepared right. All right. So far, I haven't seen any other comments other than Cynthia saying that she's buffering. I hope we are doing okay. On my end, it looks all right, but I'm still hoping it goes out. Oh yeah, that's one other thing. This is my first live video done with a new 2 GB router to go with my new 2 GB fiber optic internet. Yes, I upgraded the router yesterday. So far, it seems to be working well. I'd say this live video is kind of like an acid test for it. Can hear you fine. Don't like slimy okra either. Yes, thank you very much, War in Ukraine. Could the slime act as a thickening agent for the dish? Well, that's what they say. So it's like we don't want this thing overcooked because, again, that's one thing it does is it helps to thicken it. On the other hand, nobody likes the slime. Oh, that's a little better. And I also don't want to burn these okra seeds. Ugh, that didn't work. There we are. Okay. Step 1, we have okra. That means now we get to go on to step 2. No rules when gumbo. Go for it. Well, there are some rules. I already mentioned a couple of them. But especially number 1 is don't burn the roux, and that's what I'm trying to be careful about. However, here comes step 2, browning up the sausage. Especially since it's not andouille, I definitely need to add a little bit of flavor to this. About 2.5 pounds of sausage here. That should go nicely with the seafood. Anyway, the roux is not only the hardest part of this, it's also the longest. I was a little surprised, even though I shouldn't have been, to find out that they do actually sell a pre-made roux down there in Louisiana. You can actually buy jars of it at the store. Well, I'm not in Louisiana, which is why I've got to do my roux the hard way. All right, this time I should let it brown a little bit and stop pushing it all over the place. Hello, William Hart. I've been running for, as it says, 16 minutes. First couple of minutes, I had a bit of a sound problem, but that has been resolved. And so far, we have just accomplished step 1, which is toasting up the okra so that it's not slimy. Right now, I'm browning up some sausage to add some flavor to it. And then after that, you gotta make a roux. And once the roux is done, the rest is easy. All right, like I said, okay, let us season this up a little bit. It's really not that great a dispenser. I've been interested in trying to make a dry roux. It can be made in advance and seems convenient. I have not heard of dry roux. I have heard of baking a roux in the oven, which I have not yet tried yet. Supposedly, it actually gives some pretty reliable results. But tonight, I am just doing it the old-fashioned way, using old-fashioned utensils here. Well, not too old-fashioned. When it comes to cast iron, we have seen older. As mentioned, this is a Century Series BSNR Dutch oven, which means that would be 1966 or later. Of course, the 60s are not as recent as they used to be. So, looks like it's starting to take on a little color. So if I'm ever smart enough to stop pushing it around, we'll do it again. Pardon me. All right. On the other hand, I'm also glad to hear that the sound is okay from this mic on my shirt. I hear the ice cream truck. Oh yeah, the ice cream truck that causes kids to lose their minds. We from Louisiana always say no rules, but we stay in our lane and enjoy the counterfeits. Hello, Al's Ghost. Nothing like some good gumbo. Well, I certainly hope this is good gumbo. Dry roux involves roasting the flour dry and browning it, then combining it with fat later. Really? I've never heard of that. We will have to take a look and see what that's like. Hello, Rich Qualls, watching from Southern California. For you, it's only 3:30 in the afternoon, which means this whole gumbo will probably be done just in time for your supper, dinner. On my end, well, actually, it's a little late right now, especially since this whole thing is probably going to be done. Oh, I don't know, maybe like in an hour and a half or so. And you're on the money. Still, the it's like the smoke effects I'm seeing on the video here are better than what I'm seeing in real life here. The video is picking it up nicely. Of course, the video is also picking up the discoloration on the pot more than in real life. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Maybe another minute or so, and the sausage will be done. And then comes the make or break part. Yeah, I've already said that what it is. A little bit more Old Bay. And as mentioned, I do like doing things like the sausage in advance because it adds a little bit more flavor to the roux. My house guests are very heavy into seafood, which is why this is going to be a seafood gumbo tonight. Normally, I would do a chicken gumbo, but try to cater to your audience when you really prepare anything, including food. All right, what sausage are you using? Well, regrettably, as I mentioned earlier, I am not using andouille, unfortunately, because my house guests do not eat pork. It is not for religious reasons. Do not start with any religious arguments, anyone, please, but for other reasons. So that means I've had to substitute your pretty generic chicken smoked sausage and beef smoked sausage. But I have thrown some seasoning in with it anyway. I didn't. Oh, sorry. Yeah, one of one of them I think is chatting on her phone. Is that flaking seasoning on the inside of the Dutch oven? I feel a lot of cast iron YouTubers don't mention it, but I like the fact that you use your numerous pieces. Well, thank you very much. Mental health matters. And yes, as I mentioned before, this regrettably is fire damage. This has been a fire damaged pot, and I found that out almost immediately after I acquired it. And unfortunately, that does mean the seasoning does have some trouble holding, and you can see the discoloring and the fire damage. This, of course, is one of those long running internet arguments that are completely stupid because on one side, there are people who say, I throw my cast iron in the fire all the time and it's as good as the day it was made. Although those people never seem to show any pictures of what their brand new fire seasoned cast iron is like. On the other hand, we have seen many examples that fire damage is unfortunately permanent. And time to get the sausage out. And what you're seeing here is one of the more common results of fire damage, unfortunately. I have seen quite a few YouTube videos of people who season their cast iron in a fire, and they say it looks great, except that you definitely see the reddish color, unfortunately, which again is permanent. As I stated a few minutes ago, but I think folks were not here at that time, this is a Century Series BSNR number 12, and I'm continuing to use it despite the fire damage while I keep looking, even though I might be looking for the rest of my life, for a Red Mountain number 12 Dutch oven. Because despite the fire damage, unfortunately, well, hey, this has still done a pretty good job browning the sausage, or, well, not browning so much, more like toasting, or charring if you prefer. All right. That means time now. Let's get these last pieces out. Okay. Because now it's time for one of the stars of the show tonight. That means we get started. Let me see. Okay. It's time to add a little more olive oil. That should be enough, I hope. And to this, it's time to throw in our flour. That should probably be enough. I hope I didn't overdo it, in fact. But, oh yeah, let me get my glove on quickly. Here it is. Because I'm going to have to hold on to this pot as we mix it all together and start with the roux. All right. There are some black bits in it already, partly from the sausage as well. So, with any luck, I have not yet burned it. At this point, it's only a white roux, and I think it's just beginning already to go to a blonde roux. And this is what I said earlier. I know they say there are no rules in gumbo. There is absolutely one rule: don't burn the roux, which is what I aim to not do. Don't burn it. I think, especially to be safe, I don't think I'm going to try to go for a black roux. I think I'm just going to go for like maybe a very light chocolate roux, you know, light brown color. And that involves simply stirring. Just keep stirring, just keep stirring. Um, Actually, I am live. I'm talking to my live crew. My 2 live crew. And yeah, the fact that I'm old, nobody her age is going to recognize 2 live crew anymore. Of course, that also means I get to scrape up all of the bottom of this. So that is good in itself. Okay, too bad. Love that andouille. So do I. I love andouille too. Curious that the seasoning has trouble adhering to that area of the iron. I know. I mean, and yet this is not the first part where I've seen that happen. As I mentioned, I originally managed to acquire 2 of these number 12 Dutch ovens, and my best guess is that they probably went through a house fire. Because if I remember right, I acquired them from a salvage company, and I got a pretty good deal, I thought. Probably like about $50 for both of them. So yeah, you bet I jumped at it. However, again, it turned out that these were fire damaged. One of them was so badly done that I couldn't even season it. And it spun like a top, even more than this one. So I had to discard that one. On the other hand, $50 for a number 12 BSNR Dutch oven still is not a bad thing. I have been using this pot for the last several years anyway. As you can see, though, you are right that the seasoning does not seem to be holding, regrettably. And once this is done, I most definitely need to there we go. I most definitely need to try a restoration on this. Maybe I'm thinking of setting up the electrolysis tank for the first time in a while. I can definitely smell the smoky flavor. Well, it's giving off more of a smoky odor. And here's the part where we don't want to burn it. Right now, we're definitely at a blonde roux. Here's the part where if I do stop stirring, it probably will burn. So don't stop. As it stands, I'm hoping it'll only take maybe another few minutes or so before the roux gets to the consistency we want. I hope. It's not at a bad consistency right now, actually. I mean, definitely it has absorbed all of the flour. It's got a nice liquid consistency. I could probably stop within a few minutes, in fact. While Huey say you can help that out by etching with vinegar. Well, we can try that. Fire damage kind of glazes the surface. Oops, don't stop, don't stop. Fire damage kind of glazes the surface and ruins the surface texture for holding seasoning. Yes, exactly. They have posted microscope photos, very extreme enhancement of the surface of the cast iron, and that definitely demonstrates that fire damage really is damage. It is permanent, and it gets down below the see gets down below the surface, which is why, even though electrolysis may look like it might be able to restore the surface for a while, it will not fix fire damage. The iron is permanently damaged. What's more, there is a possibility, and I think I'm about ready here. There is a possibility, and at any time, this pan could crack. It could happen now. It could happen 5 or 10 years from now. We do not know. And that is one of the risks of using fire damaged cast iron. Yeah, it's definitely got a smoky consistency now. So, as I said, I don't trust myself, especially not on this pot. I think we are going to go on and add the Trinity. Okay. All right. So, okay, perhaps you could rough up the air with low grit sandpaper. Well, that's certainly possible. I won't deny that. However, hello to the Trinity. Now we're cooking, as they say. Actually, what they usually say is "laisse le bon temps rouler." Let the good times roll. Just got to cook this down until the peppers, onions, onions and celery are beginning to soften. And then we will, as I said, the worst of it will be over. Then I get to fill it up with chicken broth and just start throwing things into it. Yeah, the vegetables absorb the roux all through it. And because that roux is so hot, it's smoking and everything, it helps to cook the vegetables. So yeah, that's why Cajuns love their roux, or Creole if you prefer. I'd say I'd try sanding with 80 grit or etch it with vinegar before reseasoning. Yeah, those persons I know and trust who have done grinding on cast iron, including Jeff Rogers, generally say that 80 grit is about the level of texture, I guess, you want. Not 200, not 2000, just about 80 grit. All right. And with this, we will have a base for our gumbo, because that's the whole point of the roux, which means the rest of it is going to be easy. I'm still going to have to prepare some rice. Well, that's okay. Rice doesn't take too long to make. Has this moved over? Maybe. Yeah, there we go. That's a little more centered, I think. Oh, yeah. I definitely did not burn the roux, because I'm smelling this now. It is coating these veggies, and the veggies are indeed giving it some nice, well, they're aromatics. So we are off to a decent start here. And what's more, the bottom is nicely deglazed. There are no burned bits. So yeah, we are off to a decent start. Well, more than a start, in fact. We are well along our way now. I'm skeptical that vinegar would really have a strong texturing effect on the iron unless you soaked it for an extraordinary long period of time and caused pitting. And I would actually agree with that. I kind of disagree with what has become a popular saying among the cast iron crowd. You should soak your pans in a vinegar bath for 30 minutes at a time. Well, vinegar is not really that strong an acid. It's diluted to only like about 5% acidity. That's not really very strong. So, in fact, in my days, my earlier days, I put some pans in vinegar for at least overnight, if not a day or two, and they definitely did not pit. So you might be right about that. All right. Not a bad start so far. It's all smoking, so it's definitely good and hot, which means let us start throwing in a whole bunch of chicken broth. One, two, and three. There are, of course, foodies on the internet who argue with every single step you do. No matter what I do, in some way or another, I have broken some rule, and I should not call myself a cook. Whether it was that the quality of that roux, whether it's the fact that I'm using boxed chicken broth, whether the fact that I'm going to be using pre-cooked shrimp, all of those little things, those are the type of things that will get somebody mad. Oh well, they're not the ones eating this. I've soaked a rusted pan in vinegar to remove light rust. Worked okay, but not exceptionally so. An ad barged in right in the middle of your statement about not agreeing with some saying. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Okay, higher percentage vinegar is available at some hardware stores. I use 30% for weed killer. That's interesting. My statement that I disagree with is that, again, vinegar is a very weak acid. The kind that you buy in the store has been diluted to 5% acidity, maybe 6%. That's not very strong. And so what I disagree with is the popular saying these days for seasoning cast iron or restoring cast iron is you soak it in the vinegar bath for 30 minutes at a time. Otherwise, you will pit it and ruin it. No, vinegar is not that strong. That is what I am disagreeing with. All right. Nonetheless, now it's time for the fun part, which is where I get to throw in a whole bunch of seasoning. Think that's enough? And then from here, we will bring it to a boil, or the boil, bring it to the boil, as they say in jolly old England. And then we get to start throwing in the rest of our foods, meats. And that's really how easy it is to make gumbo. The roux is the hard part. And we're off to a not bad start right now. So, in order to bring this to a boil, get to throw on a lid. Yes? Do I have a ruler? Yes, I do. Okay. Well, give me 1 second since I'm here anyway. I have a yardstick right here, and I have a smaller ruler upstairs. Okay. All right, and that takes care of that. And so, okay. Anyway, yeah, the lid I actually acquired before the pot, and I kind of like got the pot to match the lid because the lid is in fact a handwritten number 12 BSNR lid, which I do know is actually rather rare. So it's one of these things I managed to acquire, and I'm quite happy about it. If I remember right, I think this is what I traded my Wapak number 12 skillet for. This was several years ago, probably going on 10 years. Wow, time flies. When I managed to score a Wapak number 12 at the flea market. And I was all excited about that because I figured if nothing else, I could definitely use it to trade for something. And if I remember right, this is what I ended up trading it for, this number 12 lid. And so that's another reason why I'm looking for a Red Mountain series Dutch oven, because it will be more of a match for the lid. And that is definitely cast iron geekness, or if you prefer, cast ironitis. Make sure I have everything here. Okay, yeah. All right, and this is one of the other things that is going to make, as I said, some foodie is going to be ticked off at everything I do tonight, which is, among other things, let's get this. I've been thawing it out in the water. I'll be using pre-cooked shrimp. I'll be using canned crab meat. And I'll also be throwing in some tuna as well. So between that and the sausage, there should be plenty of meat in this here gumbo. I got a couple of drops of water on here. Actually, hey, maybe I should have left them on. I think if when the water evaporates, we'll know that the lid is hot, and by that point, it should probably be getting close to boiling. Yeah, with any luck, I won't have to keep this live video up for an hour and a half like I do on Wednesdays. Once everything is ready on this end, I will just prepare rice, and then we will be ready. Actually, while I'm waiting, it might not be a bad plan as it is. So give me a second, because I just realized I did not get out my rice pot, which means I get to go over here to my collection. And anyway, those of you who have seen my favorite rice cooker, you know exactly what I am bringing out. There it is. The Magnalite Dutch oven, the aluminum Dutch oven, my favorite rice cooker. Do you have any issues with steam taking the seasoning off the inside of the lid? Yes. It is annoying, isn't it? It's actually gotten to the point where recently I've been in my hunt through the flea markets and Goodwills and all that. I've been keeping my eye out for a couple of glass lids so that it would help to take care of that problem. This particular one, though, I've seasoned several times, and it's got a fair amount of seasoning on the bottom. So I'm not too worried about this particular lid losing its seasoning. But yes, I know especially with modern day cast iron, it happens all the time with a large lid, for instance. And I do agree that it can be rather annoying. Which again is why, as I said, I'm looking for a glass lid. Yet, okay, can you use chicken? You absolutely can use chicken. This is my first time making a seafood gumbo, in fact. Every time I've made gumbo before tonight, I have, in fact, used chicken. In fact, if you look on my website, Cast Iron Chaos, and look under the recipe section, Adventures in Culomancy, you will find my recipe for chicken and sausage gumbo, which I've made a number of times and I am quite happy with. However, rather than just sit here and talk, I need to do some prep work. Namely, I need to start getting some rice ready. Let me see. Probably 2 cups of rice will be enough because that'll give us two. Actually, maybe I should even make it maybe 2.5 or 3 cups of rice because this family likes rice. Happy Father's Day, Handsome Stone, and you and yours. I do hope you have had a fun day. Okay, what am I doing now? I need to wash some rice. That's what I'm doing. All right, that means I need decent sized. Um, this is probably more than enough, in fact. Okay, I'm debating whether I should move over to the sink. Maybe I will, just so that you'll have something to look at that might be more interesting than a big pot. Well, actually, I'm betting it wouldn't. Nonetheless, oh yeah, I need to get my jasmine rice out of the bag. Okay, I will wait until everything else is ready before preparing the rice. I like glass lids. They have heft and you can see you're cooking. There is that. Um, it is so easy, of course, to get a glass lid with a metal rim and a metal handle. But again, maybe because I'm a geek. Excuse me. Now the doorbell. All right, let's do this quickly here. Hello. Okay. Okay. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah, yeah. I'm looking if I can. I'm hoping I can find an all glass lid to go in my pots or pans because I think yeah. Again, I think they look better. Anyway, take a look and see what we have so far. Not bad so far. Nice smell to it too. Okay. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. After everything in this gumbo is all prepared, then I will prepare the rice because that will take only about maybe 30 minutes or so. So that way I'll be able to let all of this simmer and it will be all done. How many quarts does a number 12 BSNR Dutch oven hold? Just curious. The thing is huge. Yes, it does. It's an interesting coincidence that a BSNR number 12 happens to hold about 12 quarts, or in other words, 3 gallons in size. That is just a coincidence. They did not design those size numbers to be in that way. The number 12 means it's just that, a number 12 size Dutch oven. It doesn't mean 12 quarts. Just like a number 8 Dutch oven does not hold 8 quarts. In fact, it holds anywhere from between 4.5 to 5 quarts. And as you know, they had their own measurements for the size numbers, but in this case, it just happens to be 12 quarts in size. And yeah, the number 12 BSNR Dutch oven in particular is in fact, uh, BSNR especially, there are a lot of names for their cast iron pans that people have given them, names like Beast, Tank, Monster, that kind of thing. And this number 12 Dutch oven fits every one of them. And that's one reason why I like it. And I just realized this is not even centered. I need to push this over a little bit. That is closer to being centered. Goodwill stores often have a great selection of glass lids. Just remember to take along a tape measure. That is true, especially since, unfortunately, only a couple of weeks ago, I got this glass lid in the hope that it would fit my Lady Bess 1 quart pot. And it is unfortunately slightly too big. It does not fit. So I'm going to have to take this one back to Goodwill and redonate it. Let me check again. I think we are getting close to boiling. Oh, yeah, we've got it. All right. That means now it's finally time for the next step. And yeah, speaking of condensation, fortunately, as I said, this one has not, removed the seasoning because I made sure to season this particular lid about as good as I could get it. Let me put this over someplace. I guess I'm gonna have to move the aluminum pot and put this over here. There we go. Don't want to knock anything over. But now that we've done that, time to start throwing in stuff. Namely, this is where we get to now. Actually, we don't throw in the shrimp until later. Not yet. Right now, though, we can definitely throw in the sausage. Plop. The shrimp is pre-cooked. All we really need to do is heat that up. Let me see. I've got 3 of these things of crab meat. Might as well throw that in. Which means I get to start using my can opener here. However, yeah, at this point, we're really just about done with our prep work. As you can see, all I really have to do is just throw in this meat. And then I will prepare the rice. Oh, yeah, and finally, yes, more seasonings, especially a whole bunch of parsley. And it will be done, and we will have gumbo. All right. Nice looking spoon here. I don't even remember this one. Yeah, so here is the part where, as I said, the purists are going to condemn me. That's 1. In fact, I think we're only going to be live here for another few minutes or so, especially for that reason, that I've done really all of the hard work. Because the rest of it is, again, just simply putting it all together, and we will have gumbo. Here's 2. And 3. Happy Father's Day, Fuzz Fork 8. It is upstairs, actually. I have it in my I'm pretty sure I have it in my toolbox. That's in my office. If you want. All right. Number 3. Takes care of the crab meat. And to this, I think I'll throw in maybe a couple of cans of tuna, maybe 2. Where did I just put it? Here it is. And that will be about it, because then I'm just going to prepare the rice and the shrimp. And then at the end, that's when we throw in a whole bunch of parsley and, of course, our filet powder. Can't forget the filet. A couple of cans of that. Okay. Mark Sieber. Oh, yeah, no, I answered that already. Yeah, it's been a nice, quiet live video here. But then again, that's because this is a Sunday evening. It's not Cast Iron Wednesday, and that's perfectly fine. I really just wanted to get some content out there. And especially, I wanted to have some fun cooking this evening because I haven't had as much opportunity to do that as I would have liked. And I really want to get back into the swing of things here. tuna. One more coming up. I forget. I keep forgetting how much I like tuna. And there we go. Interestingly enough, on my memories today, on my Facebook memories, that is, came across that I had posted a link of one of the many reaction videos made several years ago to, does anybody remember the Disney Gumbo? The one that doesn't use a roux, that where they put all kinds of things like kale and all the rest of that. And and a lot of people did reaction videos of how horrible that was. It was so horrible, in fact, that Disney withdrew their Gumbo video. But the reaction videos are still out there. So far, so good. We have sausage. We have this crab meat and also some tuna. I'm going to prepare the rice now. And when the rice is, and as the rice is in the final stage, we will throw in the shrimp. And then we will have gumbo. Nice. I know on Father's Day, most people tend to make things like, steak and barbecue and all the rest of that. But as I said, my house guests are really into seafood. And so I just got the idea of doing gumbo tonight. And why not? There's no bad time for gumbo. They say when it's cold, you make gumbo. And when it's hot, you make gumbo. So with that, I think actually I will probably end this so that I can just prepare the rice. Oh yeah, with shellfish allergies, I always feel like I'm missing out on the best gumbo. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to this myself. This is my first seafood gumbo. Up until tonight, all of my gumbo has been simply chicken and sausage. Still, this thing is boiling already, which means I better bring this down to a simmer and cover it. Once it is covered, I think we will call this an evening. There we go. Okay. I will, of course, reveal the finished gumbo when everything is all done. It doesn't look very different. It won't look very different from what it is now, except there'll be a whole bunch of shrimp in it and with rice. So, with that, I can only thank you, everybody, for your time on this Sunday evening. Hello, Jimmy Langford. Thought I would stop by for a second to say hello. Happy Father's Day. I'll see you later. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, Jimmy. Just get together. I'm sorry, get well, that is. All right. And yeah, and JIR finishes and Fuzzpork 8 and Pip Gorn, bon appetit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my family is going to enjoy this. As I said, they do eat a lot of Jamaican dishes, but I think this might be their first time having gumbo. And hopefully it won't be the last. So thank you, everybody, for being kind enough to be here this evening. Again, I will reveal the gumbo when it's all done. Have yourselves a happy Father's Day, folks. Father figures that aren't your birth father, single mother doing it on their own. Yes, exactly. They all deserve it. I mean, frankly, I'm not a father either in that I never did have kids. However, just within the last couple of months or so, I became a godfather once again, and I'm happy about that. All right. I think we will see you all later, folks. So once again, have yourselves a good time. Enjoy yourselves this evening and the rest of the week. And we will see you again on Cast Iron Wednesday.